So by now, I'm sure you have heard of just the crazy money that is flowing out of USAID. Now, Christian news organization, Christianity Today, their name is in the mix. And I've got a few of the details coming up. It just goes to prove that Megan Basham is absolutely correct. Here in the US, shepherds are for sale.
Welcome to No Apology with Emilee and Chris, a variety talk show designed to have you laugh louder, dig deeper, and live larger in the Lord Jesus Christ. And we are so glad that you're along with us. Right on Way Off is coming in a little bit, but we start with Emilee. Go ahead, defend. What are you talking about?
Should we really be surprised that Christianity Today has really just become a mouthpiece for the leftist political agenda? Maybe not. A quick perusal of their social media and some of the articles that they're putting out would seem to indicate the sky is falling now that Elon Musk and some of his employees have been opening the books and taking a look at what's going on. Let's take just a quick look at some of the headlines you're going to find at Christianity Today. The first one that we look at says USAID freeze leaves Ukrainians out in the cold. Now, this article goes into how desperate the Ukrainians are that they aren't going to be able to heat their homes. They're not going to be able to cook their food if this freeze of U.S. aid goes into effect, which is kind of crazy. They're bemoaning that people are going to die if we don't just keep getting our pockets picked.
And it would
It's
be
really
good if
ridiculous.
a magazine outreach, publication called Christianity Today would actually be Christian.
Yeah.
I mean, let me ask you this on this picture. Did that result from a pants fire? A pants fire as in liar, liar?
Could have. It
Uh,
very well
just
could have.
asking for a friend.
Let's look at another headline. Another headline that Christianity Today puts out says, "Is this the end of U.S. aid?" They're all concerned about this branch of the government possibly not being a revenue source, but you got to ask yourself why. I mean, hasn't the church always been able to take care of the people in their midst as God moves and as God allows? That's kind of been going on since the beginning of the church. Why all of a sudden are they so concerned that this arm of the government is not going to fund certain things
Are you
anymore?
saying there might be something else going on behind the scenes?
Could there be? Let's look at this last headline. It says tech broligarchs. I love it when they start making up words. Tech blow. How do you know how to say it?
Broligarchs, like
Blow,
bros,
yeah,
like the
like
bros.
oligarchs and bros are broligarchs.
There you go.
Want Jesus out of the way. Now they're making it personal. Of course, it's got a picture of Elon Musk on the
A
front.
little on the nose.
And Christianity Today goes into malign and mischaracterize these people that are working to just simply show us the books, somehow portraying them as evil. So I'm sorry, but this is just manipulation at its height to put into
Well,
this.
it's actually at its bottom because no one's buying it. I mean,
That's
they
true.
don't
Not very
talk
many
about the
people are.
crime they're trying to make Elon into being and his Doge
Yeah.
guys as, they're getting privacy. They're at fault.
Yes.
It's like, no, they're exposing
And they don't
corruption.
want Jesus. They don't want Jesus involved in any way. Well, I'm sorry, but preventing someone
Yeah.
from having their pockets picked,
Yeah.
that's a pretty godly thing to do.
Hey, let me show you a picture of
Okay.
what it means to say I'm on the take and I don't really know Christ. How about
Okay.
that?
Yeah,
Or that
exactly.
one.
Yeah.
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 Or how about that one?
Now your heart
And I'm
does.
tired of, if you're on the take and you're in government, that's one thing. If you're on the take and you're proclaiming the name of Christ, that's something totally
It
different.
really is. And now here's the thing is that the Ukraine, I get it. It's a war-torn country. Your heart goes out to them. However, they've received more money than any other place on the entire globe from the United States government. And apparently, it's still not enough. We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars. Where's that money coming from? It's coming from my grandkids. That's where it's coming from. So let's just take a look at one little snippet that's inside one of the articles written by Russell Moore. Russell Moore is the chief editor for Christianity Today. And he writes this in one of the articles. He says, few of us foresaw the crisis happening as directly as it has. With Elon Musk, the world's richest man, they always have to throw that in there because apparently wealth is bad.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you work for Christianity Today and you're getting your pockets lined.
Yeah.
But Elon Musk, who's the richest man in the world, and a small group of 20-something employees have virtually unilateral veto power over funds appropriated and the legislation passed by the United States Congress. Is that hyperbole or is that hyperbole?
I'm going to say that's hyperbole.
That's good because those are the only two options that you have. That's not what's going on at all. These people have no control over the funds that are being spent. They have unilateral control over no money at all. Like I said before, all they're doing is opening the checkbook and they're letting us look at it, and they know that it's bad.
They've been commissioned by the President of the United States to find waste in the government.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's the thing. Yes, these people work for Elon Musk. They're going in, they're opening up the checkbook, basically. But all of this is happening at the discretion of the president. And the president was hired to do this. The president can set up any government agency that he wants to. And so that's what he's doing. And I'm sorry, but the American people are loving it, particularly the Christians. Now, this is what's really interesting because they're protesting too much. You know what I mean? In the words of Shakespeare, methinks thou dost protest too much. Something's a little fishy. And
I don't think this show is really ready for Shakespeare.
oh, yes.
I don't think that's our
Yes, it
MO,
is.
but
The more Shakespeare, the better.
yeah.
Nobody used words better than thy Shakespeareth.
To bump my head or not bump my head? That is the question.
Okay. So you know what this
Right.
is, you know what this is starting to kind of smack of to me? The story in John chapter 12. And I
Okay.
want to read.
I was
through
going to
that.
Stratton von Avon. I'll be quiet. Finish. Go ahead.
Stratton upon Avon.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to John chapter 12. We're going to start down at the 3rd verse because the woman comes in. She's got this expensive perfume and she pours it on Jesus' feet and washes his feet with her hair and so on. And the house is filled with the fragrance of the perfume. Starting at verse 4, it goes on to say, but one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, who was later to betray him, objected. Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the the poor? It was worth a year's wages. He did not say this. This is really interesting. It says he did not say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. As keeper of the money bag, he used to help himself to what was put in it. Verse 7, leave her alone, Jesus replied. It was intended that she should save this perfume for the day of my burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me. So that's what these events are kind of starting to smack of. It's like, there's a bully in the schoolyard beating up one kid, and the kid complains and says, wait a minute, you shouldn't be doing that anymore. And the whole rest of the playground says, yeah, that's right. Let's stop doing this. And the principal comes out and says, well, if we stop this kid from beating up you, then he's probably just going to take his anger on other people, and that wouldn't be good. So we're just not going to do anything. I mean, that's how ridiculous this is. And it's manipulation. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. Now, I brought up her name.
It's bad manipulation, though. That's the thing.
Really bad manipulation. If we don't get stealing from you, people will die. What? Those aren't the only two options, okay? And if people still can't heat their homes after hundreds of billions of dollars, which Zelensky has denied that much money has even come there, so you got to go, where is it then? If they still can't heat their homes after that much money, then there's a problem on your end. It's not on this end. There's a problem on your end that you guys need to figure out. So I brought up the name Megan Basham again. She seems to be making a reoccurring appearance on our show, not literally, but she wrote a really good book. And if you haven't read it, here it is. It's right here. It's called Shepherds for Sale by Megan Basham. This is a riveting book. If you read this book, it's gonna all start making sense to you.
And not in a good way,
Not in a
in a
good
way that
way.
breaks your heart. And Emily and I, having been so woven into the Christian industry over 20 years ago, and then working our way up and out of it,
Mhm.
and we're only willing to work with those who we feel are not on the take or who are not have some sort of agenda or axe to grind
Yeah.
apart from biblical Christianity and the sanctification process after you've been
Yeah.
justified. That's kind of what Fresh Road Media is. It's not only just a fresh road of people in their lives, but it's a fresh road of people who have to deal with all of this. The Christian industry is
Mhm.
appalling, and
Yeah.
Christianity today is at the tip of that spear, who have been on the take for so long, trying to push progressive narratives for whatever reason, you know. And then now we know the reason is money, right?
That is my granny rat. No, you summed it up beautifully. You really did. So it turns out Christianity Today, their name is now in the mix, which is not really surprising. If you read Megan's book, you know, chapter 4, she really spells out what's kind of been going on, particularly with Christianity today. That's just one example. And so if you read that chapter 4 of Shepherds for Sale, you'll see how this all is working together. Basically, she outlines how progressive political organizations are infiltrating religious Christian organizations. And for a nice little chunk of money, all of a sudden, wokeism and leftist Marxism and so on starts infiltrating the church. Surprise, surprise. So it's no surprise that Christianity Today is bemoaning Musk's basically audit of government agencies at the request of the president. It's no surprise that they're belittling the workers. And, you know, it's so funny how these are just young kids. Yeah, so what? They started companies when they were 16. What were you doing when you were 16? You know, you not much if you're, you know, sitting in a government office right now.
Well,
So
first of all, it's 19. The guy's 19 years old that
19,
they're
yeah, it's a
hammering on.
group that are like
Most of
19,
them are in their
20 years
20s. The
old. Yeah.
19-year-old, as a 16-year-old, started some companies. Let me ask you,
Mhm.
how smart and effective do you have to be for Elon Musk to want you on his team when you're 19 years old? That's the question people
Right,
need to be asking,
right,
if they're
right.
honest.
Yeah,
But again, we don't have
yeah.
honesty. And even in Christianity, a lot of the Christian industry is wrapped up in this. And I've always thought it was more like a demonic push. And now I realize it's a money push.
Follow the
It's
money.
a money push, which again can
Follow
go
the
back to the love
money.
of money is the root of all evil, which gets to demonic
Yeah.
push and on and on and on. But I digress.
So if you read the book, it's riveting. Please, if you haven't, do read it. Then it becomes a little less surprising that Doge is uncovering that Christianity Today, they might have their hands in the cookie jar as well. Now, Megan Basham, big fan of hers. She was on the Allie Beth Stuckey podcast a while back, and she is so good at looking into this and then kind of explaining what's going on. And I wanted to take just an excerpt of that. It's a small little excerpt of the podcast where she really explains what this has to do with Christianity Today.
Looking at the revoice, it looks like that was PPP money, so maybe not that interesting. And other things that are not yet really explained, like why did Christianity Today show up taking $1.8 million from the federal government in their 2023 tax return? So, I don't have an answer for that yet, but these are the kind of questions that are swirling. And some things turned up that confirmed what we already knew, but showed it to be worse than we already knew.
And I just want to make a comment on that, and
Mhm.
that is we did know that some of this was going on, just like we
Yes.
know NPR is bought and paid for.
Mhm.
And I've been competing against them my whole broadcast life. And the only time I've ever been on NPR was to do sports out in Western Alaska. And even then, because we were a Christian radio station, we had to deal with the oppression. And it's like, do you want me to do your basketball game or not? Shut your pie hole.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember saying that to a guy.
I know.
And you saying, as a Christian, did you actually use those words?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And so we know NPR is, and then we also know PBS is.
Mhm.
And so I've been wanting their federal funding cut for a long time, but every nonprofit files what's called a 990. And so, like what Megan's saying is we've seen that they've been on the take for a
Yeah,
while. We just didn't
exactly.
know where this aid was coming from, what it was doing. Back to
Yeah.
Megan.
All right.
So you brought up the after party, Allie, and one thing I can tell you there is that, I knew, and we have talked about in the past, that left-wing foundations were funneling money into this political Bible study that Curtis Chang, Christianity Today editor-in-chief Russell Moore, and New York Times writer David French developed to bring onto Christian college campuses and churches. One of the things that was buried in this little data tool is that they got several $100,000 from Bill Kristol's Defending Democracy organization, which is a political organization. It is a Never Trump organization. It was named the top source of dark campaign spending in 2020 by the watchdog group Open Secrets. So what we found is that not only were they taking money from left-wing foundations, but now we know they were taking money from explicitly political left-wing foundations.
Well,
There you go.
that's amazing.
There you go. So now it's so interesting how the president has created this DOJ department, and all the secrets are coming to light, and all these secrets are actually confirming the things that Megan has written in her book, and it's just, now we're seeing the cycle just repeat itself, repeat itself, repeat itself. Now,
And I just want to add one thing, and
Yep.
that is I want accountability,
Mhm.
and I want to have forgiveness in my heart, and I want to leave justice in the hands of Jesus.
Mhm.
But on the same token, it's time for people to be held accountable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know Jesus is going to hold Christianity Today accountable. And in fact, the fact that they have that name, they should really call it Progressive something today. They should change their name. And when they lose their funding, what do? Are they going to go back to trying to share the gospel? Are they going to have any credibility?
Yeah,
And that's the problem when people are deceived like this, is that a lot of times they don't eliminate the credibility that these organizations need to have eliminated.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense, because you might have a lot of pastors or just Christians out there who have been reading Christianity Today since its very inception, when it was basically biblically sound and had no agenda other than to encourage Christians and their common thought and the common accepted teaching of biblical Christianity. That has changed, and it has changed over a long period of time. And so you don't necessarily notice it unless you stop reading it for a long period of time, which was the case with one of Megan's friends who was a pastor. She talks about it in the book, where they hadn't read it in a long time. They hadn't read Christianity Today in a long time. And all of a sudden he just thought, oh, came up with some issue and started reading it and thought, this is really weird. What's going on? He thought maybe it was just a one-off, and he started looking into other um, issues or periodicals from Christianity Today, and he realized something was very, very wrong. He just hadn't been reading it for so long.
And that's a lot of us. A lot of us,
Yeah.
just because of the name, because of the history. I mean, even a church can go woke, and people in the pews don't really totally know it. And then when they
Right.
do realize it, they're like, what do we do now?
Yeah,
Do we leave?
exactly.
Do we fight it? I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know what to do.
Well, it's really important that Christians realize that it's easy for us to be deceived as well. It's easy for our congregations and our Christian organizations to get caught up in this leftist machine. All you have to do, like we said earlier, is follow the money. But that's why we have to be on alert. And Jesus talked about that a lot right before he went to his crucifixion, saying, now in these last days, because his disciples wanted to know, Lord, what's it going to be like in the last days? And the one of the biggest things he talked to them about was false teaching, and false teachers were going to be on the rise. And we're seeing now the practicality of how that is happening, and how important it is that Christians be aware of how the government's working, how these political organizations are working, and they're actually infiltrating with massive amounts of money into local Christian churches and into local Christian colleges as well. This is not about Christianity today. I want to make that uber clear.
For me, it is. For me, that's a big part of it
But
because
it's
I've been watching them hurt people's faith for
I know,
decades now.
but it's going on already.
Mhm.
Remember our Episcopal bishop
Oh, yeah.
who not that long ago was scolding our president from the pulpit? It could be because that according to the New York Post, this bishop has received $53 million in taxpayer money in order to relocate immigrants, about 3,600. When you do the math, that's an extraordinary amount of money per person to do what she's doing.
Yeah, the bishop in the picture there, for you audio listeners, it actually says, reveals striking hypocrisy. Her little message to
Yeah.
President Trump, striking hypocrisy.
50 so she's berating the president, trying to belittle him from the pulpit, which is cult 101. Okay, let's just make that clear. That's cult leader 101. When they start berating specific people from the pulpit, run for your life. But just like Judas, while she's berating Trump for not helping out the poor or whatever it is, behind the scenes, she's getting tens of millions of dollars of our money. Not our money,
Yeah.
even. Our grandchildren's money is going to her. So it's not about the Episcopal migrant mission that's receiving millions of dollars. It's not about Christianity today. It's about the much larger picture and how the church is being
Yeah.
hijacked by the political left, and you're paying for it. And what's really interesting about the whole scenario is that these leftists who are acting as Christians and Christian leaders are really, one of their big mantras is how traditional biblical thinkers need to stay out of politics. You can't mix politics, separation of church and state. They'll scream that till they're blue in the face, until they're the ones who are out marching and speaking and getting money from taxpayers. Then they're all about it, and it's okay because they're taking their cut. And that, my friend, is my granny rant for the day. Don't forget, if you haven't read it yet, Shepherds for Sale.
All right. Well,
Are you riled up now, Chris?
oh no, calm as a cucumber.
It's cool as a cucumber.
Yeah. Well, calm, cool. If you like this, we'd like you to like and subscribe. And we're going to be back with Mike Shaw with Right On, Way Off. I just
Yes.
want to add one thing
Mhm.
in that I think you chose a great scripture to really highlight this.
Oh, good.
As far as they're not about compassion,
Right.
they're only about their
The
own pockets.
guys. It's a
And
guy.
and when you look into the Old West and you see the portrayal of snake oil salesmen, that's what we have all
Yeah.
around us right now.
Exactly.
Snake oil salesmen.
Exactly.
We'll keep it right here on No Apology with Emilee and Chris. We are so glad that you're along with us. And again, everything's at freshroadmedia.com. And I'm going to have Larry Hopp tell you a little bit about it right now.
If you're like me and you see God moving, you want to come alongside and join in the work of the Lord. I'm seeing Jesus change lives through the preaching of Salvaged by God and the joy of the Lord in the talk show, No Apology with Emilee and Chris. All of this being generated from the nonprofit Fresh Road Media. We'd love it if you'd consider joining us and supporting this amazing outreach. You can even join our tribe for free. If you subscribe really at any level, we have some wonderful resources as a way of saying thank you. Go to freshroadmedia.com and be part of something new and really, quite frankly, something that we so need in today's world. And welcome to our tribe.
Welcome back to No Apology with Emilee and Chris. It's a talk show designed to have you laugh louder, dig deeper, and live larger. And we are unapologetically Christian with a Christian worldview. And we want you to help share the word about this program
Yeah.
because we're going to have different guests from time to time. We're going to have different topics from time to time. It's not always going to be world news. Sometimes it's a Salvaged by God teaching. Other times we're just going to have fun, do some comedy.
Yeah.
It's called a variety talk show.
Yeah. As we were going through the show earlier, I started thinking about your message on Sunday because you were talking about the seared conscience.
Yeah.
And how that just really blends into what's going on today, and we just really need a revival. We need our conscience just revived again. I
Yeah.
think that's the key.
You know what I
So-
keep thinking about when a seared conscience is my conscience keeps telling me that I was good on radio and I'm not good with this camera. Why do we have these cameras here? I'm betraying my confidence. I'm going to bring in Mike Shaw and get his take on that. Mike,
Yeah.
now you got your new camera down in Texas.
Yeah. It's 2025. You have to be on YouTube and on all the podcast platforms and on Rumble to reach as many people as possible with the gospel. That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We are on those platforms,
Well,
and
and-
we're starting to get some traction. So I'm really happy about
And
that.
some people like YouTube and Rumble. It's like they're going. You're going to be your audience. I mean, a lot of the people that are out there doing great work, it's like they have a YouTube channel. That's what they do. We're doing a podcast that is going out on Spotify, iTunes, and TuneIn, and anywhere, iHeart, and then also on Rumble and YouTube. And it's hard to get traction. It's been hard to get traction. But Salvaged by God is continuing to go around the world. And if you support Fresh Road Media for nothing but Salvaged by God, you're getting your money's worth. So anyway, subscribe at whatever level you want, even free.
Yes, you can subscribe for free as well.
And we want to keep trying to do this ministry. We have a shoestring budget. We have some shoestring people.
And we have shoes.
So you're saying I'm value add, or that's a matter of opinion?
Yeah,
Right. That's a matter of opinion.
Yeah, we're keeping you around. All right, let's do it. It's
Where's USA when you need it? I joke. It is time for Right On, Way Off. It's my favorite part of the day because we get to forget all the really bad stuff that's going on in the world, and we get to have just some honest dialogue about what's real and what's not, what's right on and what's way off.
And by the way, Emilee and I never get to see what she's got coming. And Mike never knows. This is totally blind. We don't know.
Yep.
I'm not saying it was sealed in a masonry jar on Funkin' Wagner's.
A mason jar.
Mason jar, not a masonry.
Right.
Instead of mayonnaise jar.
Mayonnaise
There's
jar.
a mayonnaise jar on Funkin' Waggle's porch. Do you know what we're talking about, Mike?
I have no idea.
I totally slaughtered it, but that's what Johnny Carson used to do when he'd do Karnak.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd hold the thing up. Yeah.
He'd give the answer and then he'd open it up.
Yeah.
Yes, because all
used to love that.
those questions were sealed
Yeah.
in a mayonnaise jar.
Yeah.
Or
Waggles.
a masonry jar if you're
I thought they were
Masonry, yeah.
hermetically sealed. Hermetically
Maybe
sealed.
that's what
hermetically sealed in a mayonnaise
right.
jar on Funkin' Wagnall's front porch since noon today.
Wow. The things
Comedy
our brain holds
I
on
know.
to is kind of stupid, isn't
Was
it?
Karnak
Classic
one of the
for a
great-
reason.
Yeah, was Karnak one of the greatest things of my childhood? I'm right on. with
Yes,
Yes.
he
Yeah,
was
I'll go
good.
along
I
with
love
that.
Johnny.
He
I don't-
was fun.
I'm sorry.
I like that. I like to poke fun at that stuff. Yeah. All right. I'm going to throw 3 statements out there. You guys are going to tell me whether they're right on and way off. And we are going to see who's right on and who is way off. I'll let you know who that is. All right. The
Oh,
first
you will
statement.
let us know.
I always let you know,
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
I? It's my spiritual gift, just to let you know what's real.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the Super Bowl of Right On, Way Off.
That's right.
Yeah, it's Super Bowl Sunday as well. Wow. Anyway, here we go. Here's the first statement. There is a Christian concept that you love your family, then you love your neighbor, and then you love your community, and then you love your fellow citizens. And then after that, prioritize the rest of the world. A lot of the left has completely inverted that. Is that right on or is that way off? Are you guys ready?
I don't know what you even said.
Okay, let me read it again.
Yeah, I need the list again, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pay attention. This is important. All right.
I'm not sure Funkin' Wagnall was sober when he sealed these questions up.
All right.
happens.
All right, here we go.
There is a Christian concept
Christian concept.
that you love your family,
Mm.
then you love your neighbor, then you love your community, and then you love your fellow citizens. And then after that, prioritize the rest of the world. A lot of the far left has completely inverted that. Is that right on or is that way off? Did you hear what was
I'm
said?
ready.
There's an order.
ready.
All right. Paddles up, boys. You both say right on. All right, very good. Let's start with you, Chris. You had to hear it twice. So nice you had to hear it twice. What are your thoughts on it?
First of all, I don't want to get sucked into your voodoo sucker trap. Okay. Where you twist a few of the words. You use the phrase many or most on the left. So if there's some sort of explanation that not all the left feel this way, that's true. But where they're finding their righteousness is in a fake place. They have eliminated biblical Christianity and understanding of God's patriarchy and the purpose of being adopted into his family. And now they say that love for the worst downtrodden you can possibly come up with, whether that's Palestinians, whether that's illegals, whatever.
I'm thinking some people in the Congo.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. And they even go so far as to say that it's lab rats and honey badgers and deer. You know, you shouldn't shoot a deer. Where they put them on the same level as their family and as their community. Where I believe that God has us work from like a rock hitting a pond with the rings that go out, the ones closest to you. That's who you have to have your priority love for. And then it goes out from there, which makes an authentic church so wonderful because there's true family love amongst people who at one time were strangers, but now they're family under the banner of the cross of Jesus Christ, the banner and the cross of Jesus Christ.
All right. Good thing.
And I almost dropped my stuff.
Good thing.
I'm right on.
Because I don't know how you disagree with what he just said.
Oh, because I heard it wrong. I've had some of these great explanations that has been wrong.
Well, yeah, when you're agreeing with Kamala, you're wrong.
I wasn't listening. I had a listening issue. All right, Mike Shaw's time.
Don't tell people you're a pastor. I have a listening issue. Okay, Mike, go ahead and speak.
Yeah, I'm still right on because, you mentioned the spirit. Well, you mentioned that, the left is trying to counter Christ, and it's the spirit of Antichrist, and that certainly is correct. And so they've got it all, everything in backwards. When you have the spirit of Antichrist, they're trying to do counterfeits of what God actually is doing that is right and good. And so instead of loving your wife first and your family first and your neighbor next and your community after that and then the world, they want you to love the world. And they want you to, watch your carbon footprint so that all of your taxpayer money can go to the UN to save the world. And it's basically communism and the spirit of Antichrist. So that is why I am so right on that. And God's principles always work, so stick with those.
All right, very good.
I just want to add one little caveat, and that is always look, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in your family, whether it's in your church, or whether it's in your community, and you will see that people who reject biblical Christianity, authentically saved people, if they set that aside or they add Jesus to what they got going on, they become a candidate for fake righteousness. And that's what's going on. This, Mike, you were so spot on when you said counterfeit, but it's fake righteousness. They literally have this void that Jesus is the only one who can fill, and they're trying to fill it with, I just heart the illegals, or I just, heart my earth, let's have plastic straws because sea otter got, or whatever,
the plastic straw thing, brilliant.
One old polar bear who is going to die. They die, by the way. Animals die in the wilderness from old age and all kinds of stuff, just like humans. One old polar bear gets videoed at a distance, played in every elementary school in the world, and climate change gained traction. Fake righteousness is the core of what it is.
All right.
Yeah. So instead of actual justice, you have social justice, and then they define what that is. And that's
right. Somehow it ends up being really unfair to the individual. You know what I mean? It's like, Anyway, any guesses as to who may have said that? Mike, what do you think?
I'm tired of this.
Ronald Reagan.
All right, Chris, who do you think?
I'm going to say Elon Musk and his Doge team. I don't know.
I don't think it's Elon.
Those were good guesses. Those were very good
no,
guesses.
they're not.
It was J.D. Vance.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
and I thought that was really good. And it was really interesting because, his mom came to the inauguration.
Yeah.
And it was just such a testimony of how things can be so bad and so wrong. And yet God can redeem everything. And now here's this woman
Yeah.
who's a former addict. They didn't have a great relationship when he was in his grown-up years, but here she is now standing next to him, playing with the grandkids while he becomes vice president of the United States. So I thought that was pretty good.
To hear that JD said that warms my heart.
Yeah, it really
Because I'm
does.
glad to see someone that high up in government that can understand that inversion that's actually going on.
Exactly. All right, very
All
good.
right.
You guys are tied 1-1, going on to statement number 2. The church is in trouble. That's what they say anyways. The problem is most of what they call the church is not the church. The church is not quite as in trouble as everyone thinks. Is that right on, or is that way off? Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Paddles up, boys. Wow, you're both right on again. Are you guys like having conference before we do the show now?
No, we don't even know. These were hermetically sealed. How could we?
That's right. That's right.
Right, okay.
And if you use English and you don't twist the words up to try to trip us up, sometimes we can follow along the rabbit trail.
I'm just hoping you're not doing like the multiple choice, when you got to do the test, you really don't want to do it. So you're just like A, B, B, A, C, D, A, B, C.
Just stick the paddle up there. I don't even know what you said.
Yeah, You've got a 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
That's true. Pretty good odds no matter what you do. I know no matter how you slice it. Mike Shaw, you start first. What do you think about that statement?
Well, I think it's something, when you ask who said that, it could have been me. Because, that's exactly where I'm always coming from on that. The real authentic church is just that. Jesus is in control, and that flows through the pastor, it flows through the families with the father at the head, and then to the rest of the family, and we all come together as community, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, and there, in my opinion, there is a large remnant in this country still, and it's the true body of Christ. Now, what you guys call the visible church, some of the nonsense that you were talking about earlier, that's going on with the, USAID and funding Christianity Today, which I've never read in my life, thank goodness. But it's like, that's a real problem. And when people look at that and they think that's the church, they can certainly be misled. But the real authentic church is going great.
All right, Chris, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, well, I mean,
you said right on as well.
I did. Mike nailed all of it. I would just add Romans chapter 11, when, Paul tells us God will always have a remnant. He will always hold on to a remnant. And one of the things that Mike said that I don't want people to forget, I don't want it to just fly past, he said that there's a very strong remnant in America. America's been under God's judgment for 4 years. There's no other way to look at it. I mean, and this is what is now going to be painful to uncover all of this stuff. People should be charged. People should go to jail. That's what should happen. Whether it does or not, I don't know. But the reality is that we can't let fake righteousness overtake the real church. The authentic church is just as strong as she's ever been. The visible church, or the fake church, it's always been struggling. It just seems to have struggled a lot more under God's judgment. And since 2015, when we made gay marriage the law of the land, I think that there is something there. But the remnant still prays, and the remnant still believes. And this country was founded to share the gospel everywhere. And so if it is true that the real church is still alive, then we must share the gospel with abandon any way we can, however we can, and to what lengths we can with anyone and everyone. And we don't have to get in a boat and cross the seas to go to some foreign land. Just Salvaged by God has been downloaded in, I think we're over 50 countries now. In Indonesia, for some reason, in Singapore and in the Indonesia area, we've got hundreds of people downloading my sermons. In Brazil, if you're listening in Brazil, thank you for being a part of it. We've got like a Fresh Encounter church in Brazil. There's about 20 a week that are listening over there to various sermons. And that's not even talking about the YouTube that's starting to take off and some of the other stuff with Salvaged by God, part of Fresh Road Media. But it comes back to the fact that we must be faithful and we must protect what we got going on. Now, what does that mean, be faithful? That means if you're in an authentic church and an elder messes up, or the pastor says something you don't like, or the coffee's cold, or somebody's sitting in front of you that's blocking your view of your favorite singer on stage, or whatever the case might be, you need to try to move past all that pablum and come back to the real stake of serving Jesus Christ for such a time as this.
Unless they're wearing a black castle on their head,
Right.
then you can probably say something.
What is that?
Well, and
Black
really, you
castle
should take
on
it
their head.
straight to Facebook. Straight to Facebook, if that's the case.
Blast it all over
What does
social media.
castle on their head mean?
That's right.
At the awards ceremony where all the stars pat each other on the back,
didn't see
Jaden
it.
Smith, I think that's his name. Jaden Smith wore a big black.
Oh, he
hat
did.
on
That's
his
right. What
head.
was that? Like a house or something?
Oh, yeah, it looked like a haunted house to me. But anyway,
I was probably reading a good book from John MacArthur or Richard Blackaby, or maybe even reading my Bible.
I had finished Megan Basham's book. Thank you very much.
Nice.
So, but that was the first thing that came to my mind is somebody's got to sit behind him, and I feel really bad for that person.
Okay.
But anyway,
Sorry, I didn't catch that reference.
Yeah.
I don't. Any award
Plug
show I'm
in,
out on
would you?
now. Yeah, no, I'm not going to plug into that crap.
right.
All right.
So the person that said that is absolutely right on. That is Paul Washer. He goes on to say that by and large, what's called the church today is nothing more than a bunch of unconverted church people with unconverted pastors. And so, that visible church that we have talked about so many times.
This is reaching so many people, new people, and a lot of new Christians have stumbled onto No Apology. Let me tell you, find a Paul Washer sermon, buckle your seatbelt, and enjoy.
Exactly.
Okay.
I love Paul Washer.
And when you're done watching it, no, because Emilee Danielson told you that is actually a man that has a very good sense of humor.
Paul Washer is about missions, and he's also about telling the truth, like really stone cold in your
raw
face.
Gospel, yeah.
So here's the you want to hear the Paul Washer Valentine since it's Valentine's this week?
Yeah.
Roses are red, violets are blue. Repent.
Okay. Love is in action.
Yeah, he is worth listening to.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready for the final statement? You guys are doing really good. You're tied 2 for 2.
All right.
Here we go. I am told that Christians do not love each other. I am very sorry if that be true, but I rather doubt it. For I suspect that those who do not love each other are not Christians. Ooh, that's strong language.
You need to say that again because I have major problems with what I'm hearing. I could go right on, I could go way off and justify it, but we both know that we don't get to play that anymore.
No, you don't. All right, listen very carefully. I am told that Christians do not love each other. We hear that a lot, don't we? They're haters, right? I am very sorry if that be true, but I rather doubt it, for I suspect that those who do not love each other are not Christians. Is it that simple? What do you think? Are you ready to put your paddles up? You look confused, dear.
Not confused.
Constipated?
No.
What are you? What's going on over there?
If I was constipated, do you think I'd bring it up on the show? Oh, everybody, I gotta go. What are you doing to me?
You just looked like you were in pain.
I am, because I'm about to do something that I know is going to come back and bite me, but I'm doing it anyway.
I'm with you. I could go either way on this one too, but
right.
I think I have my answer. Yeah.
All right.
Paddles up, boys. Okay, Chris is way off, and Mike says right on. Thankfully, it's not going to be a tie today. Okay,
Right.
Chris, let's start with you.
First of all, can you feel that vortex? That is me being sucked into your English language voodoo sucker trap. It's happening right now as we speak.
It's important to the language, yes.
First of all, the book of 1 John talks at length about it. Read the book of 1 John. It's 5 chapters. Just you get through it. And then go on to the other little Johns, whether you're constipated or not. I'm sorry, that was low-hanging fruit. I shouldn't have done it.
Oh my gosh.
But
okay, we've reduced ourselves to poop jokes. Is that what's going on?
Well, I'm just biting my tongue because there's some other jokes I could throw in. But
when you go to the Little Johns,
Yes, we're in the
you
Little
will
John.
see that by our love we are known. We love each other. 1 Corinthians 13, Paul uses hyperbole. And he says, even if I speak in the tongues of angels, by the way, there is no angelic tongue. If you're babbling, speaking in tongues, you're not speaking an angelic tongue. Please stop the nonsense. He's using hyperbole there. And he says he doesn't have love. He's got nothing. He's a banging gong or a clanging cymbal. So loving our fellow neighbor is a paramount of the Christian walk.
Mm-hmm.
There are times, though, in our society where love has grown cold. And authentic Christians have had their love grow cold, which is why I'm way off with the statement. And so that doesn't mean they're not necessarily Christians. It just means that we need to always make sure we're rekindling our love out of the authentic love for Christ. I have preached many times saying, I don't have the love. I don't. Many people, I don't even like them, let alone love them. Okay? But when and Emilee, you're there with me in our morning devotions. You're there with me in morning and evening devotions,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And you can testify that when we go to the Lord
It
humbly and
changes.
ask him to grow us in our sanctification process, one of the things that happens against my own will is I start loving people.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to folks. We've got a dairy farmer couple that when their electricity went out, I mean, I just kept going back to God. Come on, help them, help them, help. And there's just a love there. There's a love for people as a pastor that I never knew before that keeps growing day by day by day, but I don't conjure it up myself. So when people say Christians don't love each other, it's because our love has grown cold. And the bellows of Scripture, the bellows of prayer on those coals will spring that back to life.
Okay.
So
you said
I'm
that was
way off on
way
that.
off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's really a
right,
big
right.
softy. Okay, Mike Shaw, you said that was right on.
Yeah. Well, I think it is right on, but Chris made all the points of why I was saying I could go either way because
You
it's
did
like
say
there
that,
are
yeah.
Just
there
stick
are
to your answer.
Christians-
You're good, Mike. You're good. Trust me. I can
Because
tell by
there
the look
are-
on her face. You're golden.
Yeah, I think I am. But I mean, it's like there are Christians that don't have that love yet, but God is going to give it to them as they walk with Him. And Chris made another brilliant point in his sermon today. Was talking if you're seared, if your conscience is seared, and you are a member of God's kingdom, if you're part of the body of Christ, He's going to bring you back. He's going to do what it takes to fix that in your life. And it might be painful, but He's going to do that.
Right?
Yeah. And I think so in this case too. So if you don't have the love, then God's going to give you the love as you're walking with Him. Now there are new Christians who don't know how to do that yet, and so they're still learning and they're growing in that as they're being sanctified. There are others, like Chris pointed out, that maybe their love has grown cold. But I think whether you're on the Johns or not, I'm not sure I said that right. Anyway, so whether
And the Johns, and First John, Second John, Third
in
John,
First John, right,
and the little Johns.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. It's like
Wow.
if you don't have love for one another, then the Spirit's not in you, God's not with you. All of those things that are in John. Jesus said, "The world will know you're my disciples by the love you have for each other. Another commandment I give to you: love each other." And so it's very important, and I think that's why I'm right on.
All right. Very good. That statement is right on. Absolutely. In fact, after your big explanation, Chris, I wasn't really even sure why you were still way off on it. I missed it. Like, what's your point?
My point is well, read the statement one more time now that we're
I'm
that
told
far
that
away.
Christians do not love each other. I am very sorry if that be true, but I rather
I'm way off.
doubt it. For
Christians
I
love each other.
suspect.
I'm way off.
Okay. So,
See?
no.
I see it because it's like some Christians don't love each other, and they need to repent of that. But it's a fact.
Right.
But you're given a falsehood. Christians do love each other.
Yeah, for I suspect that those who do not love each other are not Christians.
And that's not a call we can make. Wheat and tares, wheat and weeds.
Well,
You know?
Funky Chuck felt as though he could make that call, and he did. That is
Charles Spurgeon.
So I've never been more embarrassed for you, Chris.
No, I went way off to prove a point. Radio theater. I knew that it was going to be right on the whole time, but I didn't like the way it was worded.
Well, you can take that up with Chuck when you get to heaven.
That's right.
First of all, there's no way Charles Spurgeon said that way. That's somebody else's common man language interpretation of a statement by Charles Spurgeon because he didn't talk that way.
More, well, he said, but let's see. I am very sorry if that be true. That's totally
That one is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm way off on that. Christians don't love each other. I'm very sorry if that be true. That can't be true. I'm way off because that can't be true. Real Christians do love each other. Sometimes our love grows cold, and sometimes we, so
That was the point Charles was making. So
that's the point I'm making.
Chris loses a point, and today Mike wins 3
Thank you.
2.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. I don't know. Are you going to ship that goat to Mike? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, ship it to Texas. Mike's in Texas, for those of you who don't know.
Yeah.
I don't care. Because when you read it,
Yeah, I need to read it, right?
You have to
gotta
say
hold it up so I can read it.
because I care.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You got to read it up. Let's see if I can read it. Yeah. Because I care, and it's really, really important to me.
yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Thank
Way to go. Way to go,
Thank you.
Mike. All right.
I'll let Chris hang on to it. He won last week. He'll probably win next week.
All right. I'll just make
Just keep
this
it safe.
read it. Yeah. Keep it safe.
Yeah, keep it
Keep it
safe.
secret. Don't let, I think I have like fried chicken grease on my book because I think I've read parts of it like 2 or 3 times. But yeah, keep it safer than my book that I'm kind of shredding.
Yeah. We always have this thing at home. It's like, should we cook tonight? Yeah, we probably should. Or I could order Pizza Ranch chicken. Oh, let's do that.
Yeah.
And so for those of you not in the Midwest, we have a restaurant chain called Pizza Ranch, and their specialty is chicken.
It's really good chicken. The pizza, it's okay.
Yeah, I call it the Chicken Ranch. But anyway, that's what's greases all over Emilee's Megan book from last night.
For some
You know what-
reason, those two things, the great chicken and the okay pizza, they just go so stellar together.
Hey,
Really
I don't
good.
know.
Pizza
Really
Ranch,
good place.
the Pizza Ranch thin crust pizza is really good. That's what I get. I mean, I like it.
It's
All
really good.
right.
And, what really surprised me is it used to be an Exxon over here, just right outside my deck. It's a Casey's. It just went in like,
Casey's
yeah,
Pizza.
it's a Casey's. Just went in
Casey's
last
is
Northern
expanding
thing.
nationwide, man.
They're taking over, man. So I hope
They are.
Pizza Ranch is right
All right.
behind them.
So, is there anything that you miss from the merry old land of Iowa, Mike, since you've been gone now? How long have you been gone now?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
2 weeks. I can't name all the people. That's number one.
Well, yeah, we know
There's a
people
lot.
are number one.
There's a lot of lifetime friends that I've made there. And the cool thing about that is they're lifetime friends. So.
Yeah, exactly. There is an
right.
I in Iowa.
That's right. And then you knew this was going to happen, right? It's like I'm gone 2 weeks, and next week you guys are expecting probably a pretty good dump of snow, and I'm gonna miss it. So I mean, it's cold here today. It's 44 right now. So
Oh,
you know
I
what I
know.
mean? It's a little different. You guys woke up to 3. I think.
Yeah, and when it gets down into the 40s, all the Texans huddle together. Surely the hand of God is against us.
Yes. And so,
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I'm looking for a cool place to hang out. They put in a new park here. And I'm working for the city, and I did a story on the park, and
Nice.
so that was cool. So that might be my new favorite place here.
Yeah.
For now, and there's lots of lakes around, but they don't freeze. So I do miss my frozen Prairie Rose Lake.
There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah. I never looked at the temperature first thing in the morning. I'd look at it later on, but
Right.
I could always tell about how cold it was when I would let the dogs out. It depends on how far they kind of tuck their little butts under when they go out there to do their business. That's how cold it is. The further it's tucked under, the colder it is.
I let them out.
Who needs a thermometer?
And when they come back to the door, I let them in. What they do with their butts is their business. That's the difference between her and I.
All right. Well, we miss you, Mike, and we are very happy because the position that you have there is just right up your alley. Things are going great, and you can still join us for Right On, Way Off.
That's great.
So,
I got the fancy
congratulations.
internet now, and I got headphones on. No more
I
echo
see
like last
that.
week. So yeah,
Very
it's all
good.
Good deal.
Moving on up. Why?
Moving on
Just
up.
like the Jeffersons. All right. That's going to do it for the show. Mike, do you have any final thoughts before we go?
Well, my final thoughts are I was going to jump off of Chris's sermon about how God is so faithful, even if your consciousness, even if your conscience is seared, that God is faithful to reach out to you and do whatever it takes to bring you back to Him. And He's done that in my own life time and time and time again. And I thought it was just a great point. And then I got to use it in one of the answers. So kind of stole my own final thoughts. But I mean, I really, I'm still going to church at Fresh Encounter over the internet. One of these days I'll find a local church.
Yes.
Maybe one early enough that I can still watch, Chris live, because I'm loving the Romans 8 series. And then even though we went to, it's like Rambo 7 or,
Joseph
like,
Part 9. It's Joseph Part 9.
Joseph Part 9. So,
it's Part 9.
I'm going to hang in there until 17 or 18, whatever it takes.
We're only going to 12.
Right. But to have that thrown in the middle of the Romans 8 and for it to fit, I just think it's great. So I'm enjoying church, and I just love the point you made today about God's faithfulness.
He is faithful, very much indeed. All right, Chris, final thoughts.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mike, for tuning online, and for anybody else that would like to check it out, go to Salvage by God, and it's Fresh Road Media is the place that houses everything. But if you search Salvage by God wherever you get podcast content or video content, you can watch it on YouTube or Rumble or whatever, and it's just the sermon. And so I'm just grateful. 9 and 10 of the Joseph series dovetail perfectly well where we are in the Romans chapter 8 series. And part of it is that when you have to clean your conscience, it comes a lot times on the back end of understanding that you are adopted into the family of God, and you are indeed valued, you are loved. And so one of the things that the David series brought to light that I want people to see without me telling them is that when we resist the devil, part of it is we simply don't want to sin against God. To sin against God versus that momentary pleasure in whatever it is that I'm about to do, you choose not to because your conscience tells you not to sin against God. That's a sanctification thing. And so I'm glad that, Mike, you were impacted by it. That means that others probably were too. I'm only a couple hours removed from preaching it, and I just know that putting it all together, I could have had 3 more sermons out of this one. So if you haven't heard it, go to Salvage by God and check it out. It's about the conscience being revived. And that's it, Emilee. That's all I got.
I love it. Okay, so thank you so much to everyone who listened to the show. Thank you to all our newcomers who have become a part of the tribe by subscribing to Fresh Road Media and listening to both Salvaged by God and No Apology with Emilee and Chris. We hope it has been helpful for you. We hope it has been encouraging to you. Don't forget, prayer is your most powerful tool you have, and God loves you, and so do we. We'll see you next week right back here. No Apology with Emilee and Chris.